Taylor's view of Simone Biles. Did her handlers tell her to attack Riley Gaines? It makes zero sense for Biles to, out of nowhere, attack Riley Gaines for brownie points with Hollywood celebrity friends she doesn't have.
Yeah, that was weird because it was so out of character based on everything she typically posts. Although she does post very like more progressive stuff. She's sharing like pride stuff. But I've heard some speculation that the timing might be due to like a Netflix docu series or
Oh, wow.
coming out, which she was just promoting a couple days or like a week or so before this post.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's really confusing, and it seemed like a post that almost was like a quick, high-tempered post. The way that it was written, it didn't sound like something that was planned out. But I don't know. I don't know if it was like all part of a coordinated thing to try to get eyes on her, or if she just posted it. What was kind of weird is that she didn't end up posting for another 3 days, and then
Because she probably was talking to her publicists and trying to regroup, trying to figure out what to say.
Yeah. Also, I mean, she's been hanging out with Netflix people, so maybe she really does believe what she was saying about, Riley. Which also, what she said to Riley was so ridiculous. She said something about how bully someone your own size. Ironically, that would be a male. Anyone who has met Riley in
How
me,
tall is Riley?
I think she's
5'7"?
5 or 5'6". Riley and I are very similar in size, and like she's not big by any means, and it was just such a silly jab because it wasn't even funny. It didn't have any truth to it. It was just ridiculous. And the apology, she said, she wasn't really trying to advocate for women's sports to not be fair, but like the first sentence she mentions what like equity and inclusion,
Oh,
and
yeah.
apology about Riley was that, she had gotten personal with Riley for that. She apologized. You didn't get personal with her. You said something that wasn't actually like personal at all because it didn't apply to her. You just said something stupid completely out of your ass. And I I think the apology read very much as a, damage control PR type of statement.
Mhm.
It didn't read like an authentic, like, guys, I said something stupid. I'm sorry. I've had some time to think about it. And I think if she did want to win people over more, that would have been the better way to go than something that was like constructed to seem like it was written by like Chat GPT to
It
be
did seem out of left field. You just, you're not used to seeing that from Simone Biles. Here's from the Daily Mail. Riley Gaines defends her savage Simone Biles comeback after being confronted by Stephen A. Smith. Simone Biles' apology to Riley Gaines hasn't stopped the conservative activist's ongoing media blitz. The former University of Kentucky swimmer now speaks out against trans athletes in female sports, was a guest on Stephen A. Smith's podcast where she doubled down on her attacks, reference to the pedo doctor who abused Biles. Wow. I stand by what I said 100%, Outkick host Gaines told Smith, who was admittedly uneasy about the comment. The issue began last week when Gaines criticized a Minnesota high school softball team for relying on a trans pitcher en route to a state title. It sparked a blistering response from Biles, 28, who first criticized Gaines' views, then compared her appearance to a man. Biles wrote, "You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Why? Maybe a trans category in all sports, but instead you bully them. One thing's for sure, no one in sports is safe with you around." It just doesn't make sense.
Also, just to be clear, the post that she's referencing that she shared that she said was bullying, Riley had written, that they were the champions and it was to be expected when your star player is a boy.
Yeah.
So what she considered to be bullying was calling a boy a boy.
Right.
And also I think Riley's talked about this too. Like, the whole you should be pushing for trans division and uplift them. It is not women's responsibility to solve problems that mentally ill men create for themselves. It's not my problem. It's not Riley's problem. It's not up to us to come up with a solution. And we have offered solutions many times and they don't want them. So if Simone wants to use her platform to do that, she should. She's got a big platform.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she use hers if she cares about that so much? And she also, in her apology, talked about how she, what really upset her was that it felt like this kid was being attacked, which I don't really think calling a boy is attack.
How is that an attack?
But if that's really your concern and you're concerned about children, what about the girls? Like, let's talk about that because they're all children too.
Yeah, I think the boy threw like a no-hitter. Just
a shutout.
Yeah.
I think multiple shutouts.
Yeah. What's that going to do for these girls' self-esteem? How many of them are going to quit as a result?
Yeah, and it's like, also, I was a softball pitcher, and I know how much work goes into that. And I didn't go on to pitch forever, but I stayed in high school for 1 year to see if I wanted to play high school sports, and I was the varsity pitcher my freshman year, and I was the first person to do that since one of my older sisters. So I know how hard it is to train as a pitcher, and if I had had a boy take my spot when I had been working for years and years and years to be able to pitch varsity my freshman year, oh my God. Like,
your dad would have been yelling.
I would have been like messed up over that. That would be devastating. Like, what I went through as an adult was traumatizing. So I can't even fathom what that would be like as a kid. And pitching is really hard. So to take that away from a girl is super messed up. And also, there's a reason why he's pitching shutouts. There's a reason to get off of him.
Because he just throws, everything's just harder and faster.
Yeah. But I'm curious, like, what the families, like the parents of the teammates, think. Or do they think, wow, we got lucky because our girls are going to win every.
Yeah, I wonder. Let's see if there's a little snippet here.
A former NCAA All-American swimmer turned conservative pundit who now hosts the Games for Girls podcast.
Sport of gymnastics, what she's done for women's sports in general, much broader than gymnastics. I have looked up to her and admired her. I mean, I watched her compete in 2016, 2020, 2024, the past 9 years at this point. I've admired Simone Biles. So when I got this notification on my phone that I had been tagged in something on X from Simone, I was like overwhelmed with excitement and starstruck, and I click on it and I read what you just said out loud. And I read it again and again, and I clicked the profile, and then I went back and I clicked the profile again to make sure it was really Simone Biles. This wasn't a fake account, and it really was Simone Biles. And I was heartbroken. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't heartbroken because of the personal attacks, because of her calling me a bully or saying that I'm disgusting or truly sick or whatever she said. It wasn't that hurt my feelings, because I'm a very secure person. I'm secure with myself. I'm secure with the side of history that I'm on, very happily married for 3+ years. Like, none of those personal attacks bothered me. But what did bother me is knowing the platform that she has and how she was so quick in such a venomous way to sell out young girls like my little sister. My little sister's 16 years old. She's an elite level gymnast. I come from a family of athletes. Like, my dad played professional ball, SEC Hall of Famer. My brother played football in college. I, of course, went to University of Kentucky. My mom was a Division I softball player. My oldest sister went to Ole Miss. She played softball. My youngest sister's the best athlete out of all of us. She will go on to do incredible things, whatever she does in college and beyond. That's why my heart broke in that moment. I'm sure you'll continue to read the next tweet that Simone put out, which we can discuss. But in that moment, I was so just disappointed.
Bully someone your own
and disheartened
size.
to know a woman who has done so much
So
for the
lame.
sport
Body shaming.
was so quick to pull up the ladder behind her.
Riley's so right, though. Like, when Simone's trying to slam her, who she's actually slamming is a bunch of young girls who have big dreams.
Right, because like Riley's, done. She's forged her path. Like she said, she's happily married. She's had her career.
Yeah.
Now she's gone on to be, kind of an influencer. So yeah, like, she's good.
It reminds me of like Megan Rapinoe. And I honestly, I think it is good that Simone has kind of tried to walk it back. And I hope that I hope that it's genuine and that she means it, but it kind of seemed like more out of panic than anything.
And damage control.
Yeah. I think she expected the response to be so bad. And that's actually kind of refreshing, because it wasn't that long ago that it wouldn't have gone this way. It wasn't that long ago that a feud like that, the dog pile would have gone on Riley. But people aren't afraid anymore. And also, I think it actually, another reason, maybe Simone didn't realize that Elon Musk bought X. And then actually leave comments now and not just get
funny. Yeah. And then she brings up about the trainer, the pedo trainer.
Yeah, that's another factor, is like Simone Biles is somebody who's a survivor of a predator.
Right.
You'd think that would make you not want other girls to have to be in those vulnerable situations, those uncomfortable situations where you're having to share a locker room with a boy, or have a boy traveling and staying in hotels and stuff, because that's another factor. I've seen cases of that happening as well, where schools are traveling for stuff and the boys are staying with the girls. But you'd think that you would want girls to be safe and not in situations where males could just take advantage of this door being wide open. And also, as someone who's an extremely high level athlete, like the highest level athlete, you know what goes into that, and that men and women are different. And I think she has said that she does know that, but it's like, welcome to the conversation. We've already talked about the possibilities of having another division, and they don't want that. So
because it wouldn't give them the same jollies.
But we've already tried to make compromises, to offer things, and that doesn't work. And I don't think it really helps the people who claim they identify as trans either.
No, it definitely doesn't. And it's just ridiculous.
Point. And sports are about winning. It's about success. And I don't know if you saw, even just this afternoon, Simone Biles issued an apology to me. Okay. I think it was a bit of damage control personally, but nonetheless,
it makes me think that like these high level athletes just kind of get told what to say by publicists and by their handlers. Like, look, you're going to take this position on this, and just tweet it out and don't worry about it. And
maybe there's money involved. Maybe it's all fake. Maybe all the feuds we see on X are fake, and it's all one big show and we're not part of it. Sometimes I wonder that too.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But I think that's the case here. I do think that it's possible she was trying to like get into the news cycle, because guess what some of those news stories were talking about? Her Netflix docuseries.
Because the Netflix, yeah, that sounds very likely. Simone Biles said, I wanted to follow up from my last tweets. I've always believed competitive equity, inclusivity are essential in sport. The current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often leads to frustration and heated exchanges. It didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. These are sensitive, complicated issues that I truly don't have the answers or solutions to, but I believe it starts with empathy and respect. I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. It's like, yeah, you are actually. When you
you are. Anytime that you're advocating for it to be any different than just like a male and a female category, you are. Also, what is she even talking about? Competitive equity. Like, as an athlete, you understand it. It's not about that. It's about who.
Sports are not equitable. That's why they're sports.
Like, this isn't. She doesn't compete in the beer baseball league. Like, she knows what competition is really about. And
competitive equity would be Simone Biles like, okay, let's have you compete against a woman who's not as good. So what we're going to do is we're going to like lower the bars. We're going to lower the beam. We're going to give her more of a springboard for the vaults so that it's equitable, so that she can be at the level you're at.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And also the notion that it's a flawed system, that having men's sports and having women's sports is a flawed system. It wasn't flawed until 5 seconds ago, or a few years ago, when this really started picking up. But I think Riley's right. It's damage control, but hopefully she is sorry. Riley's such a good speaker on this issue, and
She's very impressive.
I look up to her a lot. I'm hoping I get to see her this weekend at YWLS, but she's been a huge role model to me, and she's been very supportive of me, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And I remember watching interviews of her talking about what was happening to her before I spoke up, and I needed to see that. And if I hadn't, no way I would have been able to say something.
Yeah, she's really great. Then Simone goes on to say, my objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful. What does that even mean? Individual athletes, especially kids, should never be the focus of criticism of a flawed system. Flawed? It's not flawed. They have no control over. I believe sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules supporting inclusion while maintaining fair competition. Yeah, sorry, you can't have both.
Also, like the idea that these boys and, you know, their divorced moms or whoever's really coordinating this,
whoever they have there, they get their Munchausen from.
Control over making the choice to not do something that's like a horrible thing to do to girls and to not cheat. They absolutely can choose to not do that. But
for sure.
And that this just has to be this way.
The rest of her tweet said, we all want a future for sport that is fair, inclusive, and respectful. Yeah, I don't know. That's what makes sports great, is that they're not fair. It's like, I mean, it's fair in the sense that the best person is going to win on that day in that contest. So,
like, yeah, it to advocate for, even honestly, if you really think about it, to even advocate for a trans division is kind of unfair, because that means there's 2 men's divisions and 1 women's division.
That's true.
So I think what's fair is if you're a guy, you want to compete, you can compete with the guys. And also in gymnastics, it's not even the same events for the men and the women.
No, it's they do the pommel horse, they do the single bar, they do the rings.
What does she want to put in the trans division? She want to make up some new events?
Right. What events?
Do you want to do some equity stuff where they like can stand on?
I think, the events would be like the ball tuck. We'll have to think of some events. Some...
Oh my gosh.
Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all.
Wow.
You guys are awesome. Love you, get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.